Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. Guys, we've just seen Lawrence Okolie win a 12 rounds decision against Cieslak. Um, Lawrence Okolie is a very, very effective fighter. He's very, very boring to watch. Like, I don't find his fights exciting. A lot of grabbing, a lot of holding. Um, he doesn't seem like he's got a lot in his arsenal as well in terms of like uppercuts, left hooks. It just seems like he's very heavy-handed with that right hand. I'm not gonna say he's as one-trick pony like Deontay Wilder, but he doesn't seem to have a lot in his arsenal. He doesn't really seem to have a lot in terms of. It feels like he lacks a bit of boxing IQ, and he's not had many amateur fights. He's not had much. He's not had many pro fights. He's a world champion. He's very big, very strong at the weight. He's a massive guy. He's very hard to beat. He does a lot of grappling, a lot of holding, a lot of wrestling. And his fights are normally quite boring to watch. I don't really watch his fights and get very excited by it, but he's very effective. It seems like he's a very hard guy to beat because he's so langly. He's got such a huge physical advantage of whoever he fights at cruiserweight. He's a tough fight, but he is quite sloppy at times. Like I said, he does lack, in my opinion, he doesn't have a lot in his arsenal in terms of, different kind of punch selection. Like he's heavily reliant on that right hand. He smothers his work a lot as well. He needs to get. I feel like he smothered his work a lot in that fight. He needs to find, his distance and so he can land that right hand and land some power shots from distance, because he's got a reach advantage over a lot of the fighters or everyone that he fights, because he's such a big guy and he's such a big cruiserweight. But, Cieslak was able to eat his shots and take his punches quite comfortably, which obviously would be a worry if Lawrence Okolie moves up to heavyweight, because those guys are bigger. A lot of those physical advantages that he has will be taken away. I think he needs to develop a little bit more. I think he needs to develop a few more things to his arsenal if he wants to be successful at the highest level. I do think Marius Bradis would be a problem for him, but I won't be surprised if Okolie beats him as well, just because of the huge size of the man. But Bradis is a really good fighter. I think that's going to be a hard fight for Okolie. I do. I would probably favor Bradis in that fight. But like I said, it wouldn't shock me if Okolie wins just because of the size of the man. But I do think that's gonna be a much more difficult fight for him. It's gonna be interesting to see how he gets on with someone like Bradis, because I think Bradis is a very, very good fighter. We just need, for me, I think we need to see a little bit more from Okolie. I think he's a good fighter. And he's up there with up there now as one of the top British fighters. Not so much as like aesthetically pleasing to the eye, but in terms of what he's doing, he's up there now. He's definitely in the top 10 British pound for pound list. But he doesn't seem to get that credit, because I think he goes a bit under the radar because his fights are very boring and not great to watch at all. So I think that he's going a bit under the radar. He's not really, for me, becoming that superstar that people that probably he should become, because of the fact that I think his style is very boring. He's not very exciting, even though there was a packed out arena there. His style is just not the most exciting to watch. It's a fairly boring style, and that doesn't help anyone. If you've got a really boring style, that's not it doesn't help you in terms of your marketability. It doesn't help the promoter selling you. Even if you're a good fighter, an effective fighter, if you're not the most exciting, it's difficult to sell. A lot of people after Okolie fights are always saying it's boring, it's terrible to watch. And that's the problem with Okolie, that he's not the most exciting. He's quite a boring watch. And if he does want to be, become a household name, become a bigger, then I think his style is going to have to improve. Now, I know Shane McGuigan is trying to iron that out and trying him to become more fluid and not so he doesn't grapple and smother his work, because like so many Okolie fights, he just grabs hold and smothers his work, and as a fan, it's just horrible to watch. It's not the most exciting. It's just a terrible watch at times. Even this fight, it was a lot of smothering, a lot of holding, a lot of hitting on the back of the head. You know, grappling, grabbing hold. You know, it almost becomes a bit like a wrestling match. You know what I mean? And as boxing fans, we want to see punches thrown, landed. You know, I just think Okolie, good fighter, very effective fighter, and probably going to be very difficult to beat, especially at cruiserweight. I do think Bradis is a different ball game altogether. But I do think that, you know, if he wants to become a household name, he wants to become a superstar, he's definitely going to have to improve his style, because for me, his style is very, very displeasing as far as I'm concerned. Very, very boring to watch. You know, and I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I saw, look, he got the W and he probably gets the W against a lot of the cruiserweights. But if you want to cross over, you want to become a much bigger star, bigger name, then nobody wants to see that kind of style. Nobody wants to see, you know, guy grappling all the time, grabbing hold. You know, it's just not exciting to watch. You know, I've already gone online and seen the comments for the fight, and it's like awful fight, terrible fight, boring, rubbish. You know, because that's fans want to see a fight. They don't want to see guys grappling and grabbing hold. And it seems like a lot of Coley fights are like that. But he's very effective. You know, he's very effective and he wins fights. So you don't really want to change it as well, because if he's winning, why do you want to change a winning formula? But I feel like Shane McGuigan in the post-fight interview was kind of frustrated as well that he's smothering his work. I think Shane McGuigan's trying to work on that. And Tony Bellew made a great point on air that guys like Anthony Joshua and Lawrence Okolie, although they're very athletically gifted, very strong, big men, their boxing IQ at times lack, because they don't really have that much experience as amateurs and pros. So when you see them fight, they're almost learning on the job, and they're not that astute from a boxing IQ point of view. Hence why the lack of experience at times hinders them. Lawrence Okolie seems like he's got a pretty sturdy chin. Cieslak had a very good chin because he got caught with a lot of good shots. Lawrence Okolie dropped Cieslak in the 5th round of the fight, and it looked like, you know, Lawrence Okolie would get him out of there, but Cieslak kind of rallied. He came back. He again was trying to, you know, he's struggling to get his shots off, struggling to get clean shots on Okolie. He landed some good shots, you know, left hooks. He landed some shots, but nothing to really trouble Okolie to, you know, hurt him. Okolie was looking for the knockout. He was a bit reckless in the last round. He had it in the bag, and even Andy Lee was saying that he doesn't really need to go for the knockout here, because, you know, he's dangerous. You could get caught. These are big guys. If they catch you, it could be lights out. So I think Okolie's going to be hard to beat. I don't think he's the most exciting style out there. He's definitely no Arturo Gatti, you know, but at the end of the day, he's winning, and that's what you can ask of any fighter, is to win. And if he keeps winning, doesn't matter how he's doing it, he's winning. But if he wants to cross over and become a bigger star, bigger name, look, Anthony Joshua. The thing is with Anthony Joshua, although Anthony Joshua's lost a couple of times, and he probably will lose a couple of more times by the end of his career, is that Anthony Joshua is quite an exciting style. He lets his hands go. He's offensively gifted. He's also chinny, which means that, you know, he goes down at times and he can be hurt, which makes him vulnerable and which makes him even more exciting to watch. Lawrence Okolie, on the other hand, is not the most exciting fighter. He seems a lot more sturdy in terms of he's got a good chin, because Cieslak caught him with some good shots, and you know, Okolie took him pretty comfortably. So it looks like he's got a good chin, but it's just that his style is so boring to watch. You know, fans are going to turn off. So like I said, if Shane McGuigan can work on that, iron that out, and I know he's been working on that for a while, but I think Shane McGuigan was a little frustrated with his performance as well, because he wanted him to keep his distance a bit more so he could land his big shots. But it seems like he's quite predictable with that right hand as well. Like, I don't really feel like he's got other big... he hasn't got anything. He hasn't really got a lot in his arsenal in terms of other big concussive shots. I think it's the right hand that's really going to do the damage, and people know that. The guys that are higher level, they're going to know that this guy only really has a right hand that can hurt us, right? And then if they take that right hand away from him, what does he really have? And because I didn't really see a lot in this fight. I didn't really see left hook. I didn't really see uppercut. I don't really see any other punches that he has apart from the right hand that looks concussive and powerful and hurtful. It's the right hand that really seems that's going to hurt a lot of the guys and potentially take him out. But all the other punches that he was throwing didn't really have the same venom or the same effect. So if you take away Okolie's right hand, is he really going to be able to have the success at a high level at heavyweight or even cruiserweight? In the cruiserweight division, there's not a lot of top guys. There's, Bradis for me is the standout cruiserweight, and really Okolie needs to fight him to prove his worth. But is his right hand going to land on Bradis? Is Bradis going to be able to negate him? Possibly. It's going to be very interesting to see how Okolie develops here, because I do think Okolie's going to be hard to beat because he's got a very awkward, horrible type of style where he does a lot of holding, grabs hold. He's got a good right hand. And a lot of his fights, although he won this fight pretty easy, they're not going to be easy to score because he's kind of smothering his work and he's smothering the other guy's work. And there's a lot of grabbing hold. There's a lot of grappling in his fights. So I feel like when he steps up to that next top tier level, it's not going to be easy to score his fights as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether he beats Bradis. I'm going to be interested in that fight. I think that's going to be a really good fight to tell us how good Lawrence Okolie is. But I just think that Lawrence Okolie needs to probably work on a few things. I feel like, he smothers his work a lot. He needs to keep the distance more so he can land that big right hand of his. And maybe work on a few other... maybe learn how to set traps so he can land that right hand. Also try work on the other punches, left hooks, uppercuts, because it does seem like he's heavily reliant on that big right hand of his. And it felt like at times, especially early on in that fight, that he was looping that right hand. He wasn't throwing that right hand straight, because if you're looping it, then it's not going to have the same kind of power that it will if you're landing it straight down the pipe. He was kind of looping it like he was trying to force it a bit too much. So yeah, that's just my assessment of the fight. What do you guys think? He got the job done. He won the fight. And the main thing is to get the W. So leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Lawrence Okolie wins unanimous decision against Cieslak. Leave your thoughts and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.